Hey guys, I'm Stephanie and this is Steph's Stove. And today I'm going to make for you something that is just iconic and southern, iced tea. Notice I didn't say iced tea because we just refer to it as iced tea. And it is a southern staple, something we enjoy with just about every meal. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, let's get started. First, I'm going to get my tea pitcher, and this is the tea pitcher that I generally make tea in. So I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to add my sugar to it so our tea can dissolve with the sugar once we boil it. And I keep my sugar sealed in this container. Sugar is one of those things that you want to keep sealed, free from any kind of moisture, anything that will get in it, because your tea will get clumpy and kind of lumpy. And that's not really good, so that's not something you want. So I just keep this, and I think this is just some kind of Tupperware container I've had for many, many years. And inside of it, I also often keep, this is an old coffee cup. It's about 1 cup measure. And I think I got this right when my husband and I got married about 31 years ago. And it stays in my coffee bin because it's something kind of I'm used to. My mother had an old coffee cup in hers, and it's something that I do in mine as well. So I'm going to measure this out. Be careful because the sugar does tend to go everywhere because it is so granular. And so I'm going to measure this out. I put 1.5 cups. I'm going to do 1. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of guesstimate. It's about half, you can see. And then I'm going to pour the other half cup here. So my sugar back up. And I'll let this sit for just a minute because there's nothing really we're going to do until the tea gets finished boiling. So I'm going to come over here, and this is my teapot that I've had, and you can see it's been had a lot of tea cooked in it. As I was growing up as a kid, my mother made tea every single night fresh in this particular pot. So when I got married, it's something that I got, and I as well make tea in it, so it's quite old. So I'm going to fill it up with water, and I just use water straight from our tap because we have well water where we live, and it's about that full. And then to that, just like I added my sugar, got some sugar on there, I also keep my tea sealed up. So I like to use Louisiana or Lipton tea. I think both of them are very good. And these are family size tea bags, so I use 6 of them. I like my tea strong. I do not like weak iced tea. To me, if I was going to have that, I'd just rather have water. So I have 6 bags, and I'm going to put these down there. I'm going to let them kind of submerge for just a minute. They float back up. That's fine. It's no problem. And then we're going to move this to the stove where it can boil and steep for several minutes. All right, guys, I've placed this on my stove, and I'm going to turn this on. This is my smaller outside burner. My burner has 2 distinct burners on each, a smaller and a larger. Because this pot is smaller, I'm going to use the smaller burner option. And I'm going to put this on about 7 on mine, which is equivalent to kind of like a medium high. And I'm going to kind of just be sure that these are mashed down. I'm going to give this just a few minutes. And as you'll see, the tea starts releasing its color, and you can see it's almost an amber-ish tone right now. And then we're going to wait, and this is going to come to a full boil. Now, as it gets ready to come to a boil, this is not something that you'll need to walk away from. You do need to stay very close to it because as it will very rapidly boil over, causing a huge mess in your kitchen. So we're going to give this just a few minutes and get it ready to start boiling, and then we are going to get on with some good old iced tea. All right, guys, as you can see, our tea color has quickly changed. We've got a much deeper tone. We're about a minute into the steeping process, getting ready for that boil to start. So as you can see, our color is changing quickly. I'm just going to move it around. You will want to be very gentle if you move it. Some people will say don't move it at all. I just want to be sure things aren't sticking or moving together, that there's open space within everything for air and for that warmth to get going. So we'll check back in about another minute and see if we are ready for it to boil. All right, guys, it's been about 2 more minutes, and I see that we've got some great bubbles starting, and if you see these wisps of smoke, you can see it's very warm. So that boil is fixing to come any minute, so we do have to be very careful with it, because like I said, when it comes, it is going to boil up quickly right over here, and we want to be able to kind of control that so it doesn't boil over. We don't want to lose any of our tea during this process. So you're going to let it do its thing. Here we go. You can see that movement that we've got in kind of this whitish area that's coming. That boil is fixing to come. And that's when those tea bags are releasing all that amazing flavor in there. You see some rising. Here we go. Here it goes, guys. This is almost just such a neat thing. I remember as a kid watching my mom do it every day, and it would just waiting in anticipation as that full roaring boil would start up over the tea, and you could smell it. If you guys could smell what's going on, you could smell that tea flavor. It's just emitting through. It smells so good right now. Now at this point, I'm going to kind of put my spoon in here just to kind of move it around to control the heat, and I'm going to turn my stove off at this point, because even though I got it to that state, I'm going to let it sit, let it boil. Be very careful at this point, because the last thing you would want is to bust your tea bags, because if they did, that fine tea would go all through your wonderful tea juice that you're making right here. It will be almost impossible to get out. So we're going to let that sit, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to go with the lid, and I'm going to cover it and move it off the heat and let it steep for about 5 minutes. All right, guys, it's been about 5 minutes, so now we are going to unveil our tea as we open it. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So it's always got like a reddish brown tone, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, since this is a glass pitcher, I'm going to kind of be a little careful with this. I haven't had anything break on me, but you're going to go in there and strain out, trying to get all of that goodness out of your tea bags. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little of this to my pitcher. Get the best way to do this. I'm going to pour just a little bit of that in. I'm going to work this around the sugar, because the sugar will dissolve quickly. And I don't know if you've ever had tea other places. There's some restaurants you go to, and used to never happen in the South. However, as we have kind of, I guess people got away from eating so much sugar, you'll see people have, some restaurants just have tea and it's not sweetened. But in the South, we just refer to it as iced tea. It's pretty much always sweetened. It's not ever, do you want sweet tea? It's kind of understood. Tea is sweet. But I do understand some people prefer unsweetened tea, or that they want sugar substitutes, and that's fine. However, sugar won't dissolve unless the tea is warm. Sugar substitute, on the other hand, will dissolve a little bit. So I'm just pushing this around with the warmth of the tea. It's quite warm on here. And I just want this to dissolve and kind of the sugar get all throughout the tea. I'm just going to move this around. Let that sugar, and I don't hear any of the grains. You can kind of hear it's a little gritty sometimes until you know that sugar's been dissolved. And you can see right here on my spoon that sugar is not gritty. It's dissolved nicely. So what I'm going to do is, before I get rid of this, I'm going to pour some of my water, because these tea bags are still warm. I'm going to pour a whole nother kind of pot full of water over my tea bags, and I'm going to get some more goodness out of here. This is kind of something I remember my mom always doing, just kind of squeezing gently every last drop. I'll just pour that straight in, and you can still see it's some good tea. I'll do this one more time. You'll see each time I do this, it'll get lighter and lighter. I know there's different people have different ways of doing this, and some people will just pour the tea straight into their pitcher and discard the tea bags, but there's lots of goodness you can still get out of there. So you can see all that, and I'm just very gentle with here, just kind of pressing, going back and forth, getting that goodness. Squeeze it out. Alright, and I'm going to get rid of those tea bags. I've got a trash bag right there. And now I'm going to fill this up the rest of the way about to here. There's no exact amount. I generally do it kind of to the top of my tea pitcher. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I have an old, plastic tea pitcher from going outside with it. So I'm just gonna fill this up. I'm gonna use my pot for simplicity. I kind of believe in making things as easy as possible. Kind of don't mess up more dishes than you have to. It's not necessary. That's kind of what makes Southern food so good. It not only does it taste good, it's really simple, and it doesn't have to be made all the extras to be good. Sometimes when we add too much to it, we take away the goodness. We kind of need it more simple. And so see, we have it here. I have just a little foam on the top. You'll always have that when it's fresh. Stir it around to incorporate that water really well in your tea, and it will still be somewhat warm, but because I let it steep for a while and cool down, that's where you kind of get the that ice tea, because tea generally was served hot kind of in the 1800s and beyond, and the late 1800s is when, mostly in the South, they would start kind of making tea, letting it cool down, and then drinking it as a cool beverage or drinking it over ice. So as you can see, that is some gorgeous tea right there. Gorgeous. Love it. All right, guys, I'm gonna let this tea cool down for just a few minutes. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator, kind of chill it some more, and then we'll be back and we'll serve it over some good iced tea. See you in a few minutes. Hey guys, it's been several minutes and my tea is nicely chilled in the refrigerator. So it's time for us to enjoy it over ice. Here we go. That's Southern goodness. Yummy. Thanks for watching today, and don't forget, subscribe and like for more content like this. I'm Steph. This is Steph's Stove.